September's coming up. It's time to prepare for Witchoween. So in this video, we'll talk about my September TBR, all of it witch themed, all of it getting ready for the fantastic Burr months, the cozy months, the cold months. I live in Florida, so September is still regularly 100 plus heat index. So, hello. Welcome to my channel. I'm Holly. I love books, I love plants, I love cats, and I love witches. Let's talk about it. The Witchoween hashtag was created by Carly over at the Pastel Bookshelf, one of my favorite booktube channels. She's made a bingo card for the month of September that are all witch-themed books. Considering how much I read, I've actually picked out multiple titles for each of the bingo card sections. I'm pretty sure I can get through all of them, plus I got a few bonus ones lined up. I also have a few suggestions for you guys of ones I've already read that don't quite fit into any of the columns for my needs, but might be nice for you to be aware of, the purple category. So my two first picks are actually both rereads of two of my favorite Kingfisher novels. That being said, full disclosure, Kingfisher is my favorite author, so they're kind of all my favorite novels. But two that are perfect purple covers, you've got A Sorceress Comes to Call and A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking. Both books are all about merging the style of fantasy with horror that Kingfisher is just the best at, in my opinion. Sorceress Comes to Call, featuring a 14-year-old girl, but really it's a whole host of characters that are all more my age. You got more your 30s and 40s going on. They're all fighting against the evil sorceress who happens to be the 14-year-old's mom. It's a great, fun romp of a story, great slew of characters. And yes, technically this one is about defeating the evil witch, but I'm down with that too. Just give me some magic, give me some darkness, give me some fantasy. Could not be happier. A Wizard's Guide to Defensive Baking is written a little more young in my opinion, but still very much some darkness, some heavy topics. It also is featuring a young girl who is basically what's left to defend the town from an invasion. And it's her journey, it's her odd magical power that she doesn't think is worth much of anything, but she has to make the most of it. I think a message we could all take, whatever skills you got, use them. Either way, both books are a really delightful mix of the fantasy and horror genres that Kingfisher is just brilliant at. It's really why she's my favorite author. Every one of her books just tick all the right spots of darkness, of magic, of humor, of character development. You just can't go wrong. There is also the second book in the Graves Glen series, The Kiss Curse. The first one was The X Hex, both by Aaron Sterling. I read The X Hex last year and it was pretty good. I had it on my radar that there was another book. And when the subject of purple came up, there's a really nice purple hue to the cover of this book. So naturally I thought, let's throw it into the mix in case I want a lighthearted, more rom-com witchy story. So Kiss Curse, Aaron Sterling, possibility. The next category was new author. I'm thinking Christy DeMeester, who wrote Dark Sisters. This is tapping into that pretty popular trope as of late of multi-generational stories. Apparently, this one is covering 3 generations of women who are all suffering from the same one supernatural curse. And I really enjoy about those multi-generational stories because you kind of get the historical fiction part of a story too, as well as modern day, as well as that magical realism. Here for it, absolutely. I'm also planning on trying Heartless Hunter by Kristen Cicerelli. Apparently, this is a duology, The Crimson Moth. The Crimson Moth series, I'm not sure if that is definitively a YA. In my library, it's actually categorized in the adult section. The premise of this story is apparently a witch has to disguise the fact that she's a witch, so she plays the role of kind of a vapid socialite in her day life, and then at night becomes the Crimson Moth, and her mission is to save other witches who are being persecuted. It sounds kind of Batman-esque to me, and I'm not necessarily into the superhero trope, so but both times this book has come across my radar, it's been with high recommendations. So, why not? Let's give it a shot. September challenge. After I had already made this list, I realized I really am missing out that I have never read a CJ Cook, and I know a lot of her books feature witches. I also have had the warning that they're fairly violent and intense, and that's not always my thing. I gotta really be ready for that headspace. But it's CJ Cook. I kind of feel like I have to. So, September challenge. I think I'm going to try to read The Lighthouse Witches. It seems like a fairly fitting book considering, here in Florida, it's still well over 90 degrees all the way through September. It's just awful still. So put me into a lighthouse, put me with ocean. It's a setting I can more get the vibe of. Next, we have the autumn setting. This one's pretty easy. A lot of witch books have an autumn setting. I'm pretty sure that at least half of the books I've chosen are going to take place in the month of October. I specifically chose, though, a book that I DNF'd earlier this year because I realized it kicks off right in the beginning of October, and I'm like, nope, nope, I need to wait for this one. A Dark and Secret Magic by Willis Kenny. From the blurb of the book, it lists, let's see, Hedge Witch, Secluded Cottage, Black Cat, Gardening, an Apothecary, a Halloween Party, and then some kind of dark magic mystery that surrounds the FMC's mother who recently passed away. I mean, what an absolutely exquisite checkmark list. Little side tip, this cover also has a moon on it, so you could use this for a later column too. I also plan on reading Practical Magic. I cannot believe I have still never read Practical Magic. But I'm also aware of how highly I think of the movie. I mean, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know that the book is not like the movie. And I don't think it's fair to come to the book with that expectation. So I know I need to go in with a cleaner slate and not those sorts of desires. Apparently, it's much more of a story about sisterhood and family, and there is kind of some magic, but it really seems like it's more a story about sisterhood, which I'm here for the witches. But I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to go in with the open mind, knowing this is not the movie, but I have to read it. I cannot read as many books as I do and love that movie so much and not have read the source material. So it's time. Witchy book? There are so many that fit into this one. I've had The Bewitching on my radar for a while now. I mean, basically since it was published. I read Sylvia Marino Garcia's book, Mexican Gothic. Awesome. So I was very excited for this book, and I purposefully been waiting until the witch season arrives. And Carly has deemed September witch season, so I'm in. Time to read it. Apparently, The Bewitching is another multi generational story. I think it's also 3 generations of witches and women that it's covering, so there's a theme here. I've also had on my long term TBR The Once and Future Witches by Alex Harrow. The 10,000 Doors of January was one of the most beautiful books I've ever read. And ever since, I've basically been accumulating all of Harrow's work. This one, again, I've been waiting for the spooky witch season, so here we go. This book is placed in the late 1800s, and it's basically 3 sisters who are witches and apparently also suffragettes. So it's a neat little combination of both the witch story and the suffragette movement. Considering all the persecution that women face throughout history, I think that's a pretty interesting take to try to now combine the empowerment of women with something that was used as such intense persecution against women. Really curious to see what Harrow does with this story. And since I made my original little TBR announcement about this, I've also decided to add on Weyward by Amelia Hart for this section. I actually had written this book off. I did not plan on reading it for a couple of different things I'd heard, and I just didn't know if it was quite for me. But then I read The Sirens, and wow, that woman knows how to write. So now I have to read it. It is another multi generational story. Now that I think about it, practical magic is also multi generational. I guess that is just a common trope within witch stories, is something being passed down within a family, within the female line. I'll take it. I'm here for it. It's fine. I don't think I'm going to get bored with it. Then Carly has the slot for celestial cover. Pretty much for me, this was always a crescent moon. I could find crescent moons on a lot of covers. The one I mentioned already, Dark and Secret Magic, perfect crescent moon on that one. There's another one that's been on my radar called Rewitched by Lucy Jane Wood. This is just a simple, cozy story. It's one I plan on doing as an audiobook while I'm working. If you've seen some of my other videos, I talk about how with audiobooks, I have to be careful about what I pick because I just can't follow really complex or intense stories. And I also really have to be careful about how a narrator reads something to me. But I find cozy mysteries, cozy little witch stories are just perfect as audiobooks for me. So this one, Crescent Moon, right in the middle of the cover. Plus, I adore the FMC's name, Belladonna Blackthorn. I am a sucker for alliteration. Apparently, this one also takes place in October, so it could fulfill the autumn requirement. Belladonna works in a bookstore. Love that. And apparently, as she's approaching her 30th birthday, she has to prove herself as a witch or she loses her powers, but she's been hiding her powers and she just ain't feeling it and she's really tired and burnt out. And aren't we all there sometimes? So, this is just a good light read to put into the mix, especially because it's one that I can do as an audio while I'm working this month. Another one that I can do as an audio, but I'm hoping to reread the hard copy, In the Company of Witches by Orly Wallace. This is a little duology from the Evanfall Bed and Breakfast Witch Mystery series. Evanfall Witches Bed and Breakfast Mystery, something like that. Anyway, it's a sweet little story, also about multi generational witches, but this one was more than just the really basic cozy stories I tend to do as audiobooks. This one had some really nice topics it was tackling, mostly in reference to grief and how it just suppresses all your other joys, what might make you you, makes you question everything. I really liked that this went into that realm while also offering a really lovely multi generational household, someone trying to figure out how to work with their power while working through their grief. And you have a really fun murder mystery mixed in. So it really did tick a lot of boxes for a fun, lighthearted, and fall themed book. So that's it for the books that are required to fill out the bingo card. I do have a few other recommendations and some things that are on my radar. I'm debating with reading Threadneedle. This one also came up while I was looking through covers and developing my list. It's by Carrie Thomas, but this one is definitely a young adult novel. And oof, I don't know. I've loved some young adult books, but it really depends on the subject matter. But it does make me a little reticent. I am a woman in her 40s and I didn't really get into the high school vibe when I was in high school, so. And I think this one does bounce into the high school scene at some point, and then you're kind of locked in those dramas. I'm not entirely sure. When I read the blurb of the book, it doesn't mention that, the FMC's name is Anna, and apparently her aunt really doesn't want her doing magic. And she's grown up thinking that she does need to suppress the magic and it's a bad thing. But she makes some friends who open her up to a different version of the world where it's a good thing, it's a beautiful thing, it's a fascinating thing. And I like all of that. It's just, I don't want to go to high school again. So I'm not sure about that one. But if I did read it, it also has the crescent moon on the front, and the second book in the series has a purple cover. So you could actually end up checking off both boxes by reading the same series, which there's something kind of lovely about that. I would highly recommend Green Teeth by Molly O'Neill. I just recently read this one, so I wouldn't reread it already, but it's a period piece, involves witchcraft, dark magic, a fantastic mythological water dwelling creature, green teeth. You've got a cast of fantasy creatures that also get pulled into the story as the mystery is unwound as to how to defeat the dark magic. It's a really fun tale. It's a standalone novel. Definitely recommend it. I also just read At the Bottom of the Garden, and this one is actually featuring two young witches coming into their power. I just recently did a review of that. I'll link it below, but that would also be a great story. There's also Briar Book of the Dead. This is another one of those fantasy stories that has a really dark edge to it. It's sort of blending the genres of fantasy and horror. Great generational witch family story. I will also have a link below to a bigger review on that. And if you only have time for a short read, but it would take the Witchy box, Thornhedge. Yes, it's by T. Kingfisher, but she's my favorite author. What do you want me to do? I just realized it was lined up next to me. So, Thornhedge, little book, sweet story. It's a retelling of Sleeping Beauty. And yeah, she should stay asleep. I'm also planning on fitting the Book Witch in somewhere. This one I didn't necessarily have on my radar for a September book, but I've been waiting for months to get it from my library and it just came in, so it's going on the September list now. This one's another lighter, cozier read. Came with strong recommendations. We'll see. I don't really know anything about it, except that I had to wait months to get it, so we're reading it now. And one more, it's more of a dark, cold setting. I won't be reading it just yet, but The Witch of Willow Sound. I started reading that earlier this year and realized it was in a winter setting. It's a very cold and dark environment that's described, and it just didn't fit at all when it was 112 degrees outside. So I put that one on the back burner, but one of the most gripping intro chapters I've ever read, and I definitely am going to come back to it in the darker months of the year. If you don't live in Florida and the darker months are coming and you'll feel it, maybe dive into it for your September witch reads. And if you want more of the cozy witch stories, I'm going to link below another video I did. There was 6 cozy witch stories. All of them I did as audio because like I said before, it's perfect for me audio. Some I recommend more than others, but that'll give you a really good recap of several books that would fit right into the September bingo card and what they might offer and what you might like. To fill out the rest of the bingo card, light a candle. I do that at least once a day. I pretty much light a candle in every room I go into as I move around the house. Witch films. I don't watch a lot of movies, but I rewatch a bunch of different witch movies. My recommendations? Practical Magic, first and foremost. I'm gonna read it. Hocus Pocus, of course. Mary and the Witch's Flower. This is an animated one that I don't think as many people know about. Lovely story. If you like Studio Ghibli, you've got to try Mary and the Witch's Flower. Oh, and speaking of Studio Ghibli, Kiki's Delivery Service. Definitely need to watch Kiki's Delivery Service this year. The Craft defined my youth. Elvira. I saw this movie when I was really young, and I loved her from the moment I met her on screen. I never get tired of rewatching this one. Both Addams Family movies, both of them. If everything just shifted in the camera, I had a cat run in and knock everything over, so blame Toffee. The last few spots on the bingo card: make a potion, easy peasy. Have a coffee, put some pumpkin spice in it. And the free spell, that's easy. I decorate in September. Here's a preview. I really, really, really like Halloween. That'll fill up my bingo card. What are you reading this Witchoween?